Once upon a time, in a quiet valley surrounded by mountains, there stood an old temple made of stone and wood. In this temple lived a wise monk. His name was Jingwa. People said, just by sitting near him, your heart would grow calm. He was not rich, he wore only simple robes, but his presence carried a peace that no gold could ever buy. Every afternoon, Jingwa would sit in the temple garden. The garden was small, but full of life. Tall bamboo trees swayed gently in the wind, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. Birds returned to their nests. The sound of running water echoed from the hills. When villagers or travelers saw him sitting there, eyes half closed, hands resting quietly on his knees, they would stop. Somehow, even without words, he reminded them that the world was still beautiful and that peace was possible. One sunny day, a group of young students gathered around him. Their robes were dusty from chores, their faces filled with confusion. They had questions in their hearts, questions that every human carries, but few dare to ask. Finally, one of them spoke. "Master, we do not understand. Why is it that when times are most difficult, you seem lighter while we feel heavy, worried, and full of fear?" Jingwa lifted his eyes. His smile was gentle but deep, like the still surface of a lake that hides endless water beneath. He spoke slowly, carefully, each word landing like a drop of rain. Most people are happy only when life is smooth. But that happiness is fragile. It breaks easily, like a bubble in the wind. True joy does not depend on good fortune. True joy is the strength to smile, even in hardship. It comes from within, from understanding the way of life. The students listened, and though their hearts stirred, they could not fully grasp his meaning. They wondered, could anyone really smile in disaster? Not long after, the answer arrived. One night, the sky darkened. Thunder shook the mountains. The wind roared like a wild beast. Rain poured without mercy. Fields were drowned. Houses collapsed. Trees were torn from their roots. By morning, the village was broken. Families sat by piles of rubble, eyes empty, children crying. It seemed all hope had been washed away. But in the middle of the despair, a single figure moved steadily, calmly, through the wreckage. It was Jingwa. He did not only give words, he gave his hands. He carried stones, lifted beams, comforted the weak. He placed his arm around the shoulders of the old. He spoke gently to frightened children. He smiled at everyone he passed. His steps were slow but firm. His robe was soaked by the rain, yet his presence was like a lamp in the darkness. And while he worked, he said, "Yes, the storm has taken much away, but it has also shown us what we had forgotten. It reminds us how precious our ordinary days truly are." The villagers listened. At first, their hands trembled, but then, one by one, they began to rise. Together they rebuilt, stone by stone, plank by plank. And as they worked, something invisible returned, courage and hope. That night, when the day's labor was done, people gathered around a fire made of broken wood. The flames danced, faces glowed with exhaustion, but in their hearts, they felt a warmth they had long forgotten. Jingwa sat among them, silent at first, gazing at the night sky. The stars shone brightly, as if the storm had polished the heavens. After a long pause, he lifted his hand and pointed upward. "Look at those stars. Each one is small, but in the darkest night, they shine the brightest. So too can we. Our suffering does not destroy us. It can make our light more clear." The villagers lowered their heads, some with tears in their eyes. For the first time since the storm, they believed again in their own strength. As months passed, the wounds of the village healed. Fields grew green again. Children's laughter once more echoed in the valley. Where there was ruin, now there was life. One day, as Jinghua lifted wood for a new bridge, a young student approached. His voice was hesitant, but his heart was burning with curiosity. "Master, please tell me, how can you remain so calm, so steady, even when the world collapses around you?" Jinghua set down the wood. He looked straight into the student's eyes and spoke with gentle firmness. "Because I know that both peace and hardship are necessary parts of life. To accept them both is to accept the truth of the whole universe." The student stood still, the words settling deep into his chest. Later that evening, Jinghua walked with the villagers to the new bridge. Beneath them, the river flowed endlessly, sometimes smooth, sometimes rushing wildly, but always moving forward. Jinghua raised his hand and said, "Life is like this river. It does not stay calm forever, nor is it stormy forever. But whether smooth or rough, if you keep walking, we will reach the other side." The villagers listened in silence. Some smiled, some cried, but all of them felt the truth in his words. From that day on, they no longer feared hardship. They carried Jinghua's smile in their hearts, and they knew that even in storms, they could find their own light. True joy is not only in good times. It grows strongest when we face storms with courage. Like a river that never stops flowing, so must we keep moving forward. If you like this story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories full of wisdom and inspiration. Thank you for being with us today. See you next time with new lessons for the heart.